What's going on, everybody? It's Matt and Coach at the FF Mediators, and today we're going to walk through some of your questions, talk a little bit about buy, sell, hold. We are excited to be here. How we doing, Coach?
Man, doing good, doing good. Ready to talk a little football.
Yes, sir. So if you're joining us, please be sure to put your questions or thoughts in the comments. We'll be sure to get to those. Appreciate everybody that's going to tune in. We're excited to talk football. Be sure to like the stream, give us a follow over on X at the FF Mediators, subscribe and follow the Face Off Sports Network. We're constantly putting out content, so we're excited to talk about some football. And Coach, I don't think we can go too much further without discussing the Kansas City Chiefs.
Man, unreal. I mean, they're 6-0. They've had all kinds of things happen to them injury wise. They just keep finding a way to win. People are worried about Patrick Mahomes, which blows my mind. I would be tickled to death to have him on my team right now. Like, I couldn't wait to run Patrick Mahomes out there as we get going. Now that he has D Hop, like things are looking really up for him.
Yeah, it does kind of feel like we've pushed a little bit too much pressure on Mahomes. Like I understand he's been a little bit underwhelming for fantasy this year. He's only QB 22, but he's also Mahomes. Like I have faith if anybody's going to figure it out, it's him.
Right, which is exactly for me like why I want him. Like he's only going to get better. I guess it has to be really scary for the rest of the NFL considering they're still 6-0 and he's not played great. Like gosh, if he hasn't earned some grace, who has? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's funny because we sit here and we critique all these quarterbacks, and we can critique D Hop. Is he what he used to be? No, but is he better than what the Chiefs have? Probably. So I think it's going to be interesting to see what he can bring to this offense. They need some stability at the wide receiver position to be opposite of Xavier Worthy, but time's going to tell. But Coach, you ready to jump into some questions here and kind of help everybody out
Yeah,
and
man.
talk some football?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Well, let's start with Jared over on Facebook. He says, "Hey guys, PPR redraft: Brock Bowers, Mari Cooper, or Garrett Wilson and Cole Kmet."
Ooh.
I think I'm gonna go quick. Give me Bowers and Cooper. Just Bowers is so good, so good.
Yeah, he is. I mean, he's the clear cut number one tight end in my eyes. Garrett Wilson's took a little bit of a hit now. The Jets just aren't doing what everybody hoped or thought they would. Komet's up and down for me. Cooper is through the roof. Like, give me those guys. Easy.
Yeah, I think that's a good trade too. But before we move on, I do want to hear your thoughts as being the Bears fan of the group. What do you believe on Kmet? You think anything's there?
I think Komet's a good player. Now, I still think it's going to be a little streaky up and down. Like, Komet's a top 10 tight end, like he is. But it's going to be a little up and down as we go, I think. I do think, Caleb Williams has found a guy that he can trust there with Komet a little bit, but he's still spreading it around a lot. Like, I don't feel locked in great with him like I do Brock Bowers.
Yeah, Komet's tight end 3 on the year, so that's kind of funny and something to think about. The tight end landscape has just been all over the place. We've got our man Pete popping in here. Appreciate you being in here, Pete. He says, "What kind of price can you sell Najee Harris for in Dynasty?" That's a good question. Let me pull up Najee's age here. Najee's 26, so let me ask first, Coach. Is he a buy or sell or a hold for you?
Whew, man. Najee's an interesting one for me. I would not hesitate to buy Najee, especially as we go right here. 26, you got 2 more years with him, 3 more years, possibly up to 28, 29. For me in Dynasty, that's good enough for me to go get if I need a running back.
Yeah, I think I'm comfortable buying Najee if you need a running back. What's the price if you're selling him? I'd probably hope for a late second. I think market, I was looking at it earlier. I'm staring at it here. It kind of looks like it's around 2/3. That feels a little underwhelming to me, but if I could get a second and I'm fine with moving in, give me that and I'll roll with it. But before we move on, Coach brought up an interesting point on one of our videos we did recently. Would you rather have one late second or would you rather have 2 random thirds?
Oh, two-thirds easy. You know my answer.
Yeah,
Easy. Those are exactly the same. Give me the two-thirds all day.
yeah. For those of you that aren't aware, Coach is a big believer of what's the difference between a second and a third. Who knows? But
If you want to know, send me a message on Twitter. We can talk all day long about why those thirds are just as valuable as mid-seconds. I can give you
he
name
sure
after
will.
name after name.
Yeah, and I'm tired of hearing the name, so someone listen to him. Let's head over to a question over on Twitch. Appreciate you being here. It says, "Good evening. Is Tua a must start this week, or do I start May?" Wow, that's a tough question. Are you willing to throw Tua in your lineup week one back, Coach?
I am. As a matter of fact, I'm going to. I'm just.
Oh,
I mean, especially over May. I mean, I'm gonna do it.
okay.
Facing the Cardinals. Cardinals are middle of the pack on defense to low. They're 18th in defense. I see. Like, I feel pretty good about Tua. I just think he's going to perform better than May.
Yeah, and May's playing the Jets. The Jets are in a what feels like for the fifth week in a row a must win. So I think I'm going to go with Tua as well and just hope that offense can produce because really somebody's just got to deliver a ball to those playmakers, and that's what they've been lacking to this point.
And this is going to sound maybe a little bit morbid or whatever right here, but you better run him out. If you want to play him, you better do it while you can. There's that real possibility. You can get a good start from him and then try to move off of him. That's what I might hope for if I were you. That's sort of what I'm hoping for, to be honest.
All right, let's jump to our next question over on YouTube. It says, "Who should I trade Swift for?" Which, Coach, you kind of should give a little bit of your belief in Swift. He's been talking a lot about him here recently. Yes, he's a Bears fan, but he's got some belief in that run game.
The run game is really improved, and it's not as much as I think Swift is as great as the Bears are really like. They're really committed to DeAndre Swift. Like, he's going to get the ball, he's going to get his carries, and he's going to get his targets out of the backfield right now. He's running back 16, but after that first 2 or 3 game start, like he has been really up there the last 3 weeks, their last 3 games that they've played.
Over
As
20
far as
points a
who can
week.
yeah, I mean, he's been going off. So, and they're going to keep giving him the ball. Like, I see no end in sight to that. So I'm not sure I'd be in a hurry to get off of Swift right now either.
And let's say you want to move him. It's a redraft. Where are you looking towards? Maybe James Conner or possibly Najee, what we talked about earlier with Pete's question.
Yeah, I like James Conner. I mean, you really got to sell the last 3 weeks of production because on paper it's not going to look as good. So it's really important when you do that to sell the last 3 weeks of DeAndre Swift's production and what he could mean going forward. But I do think a Swift for Conner exchange is dicey. Like that could go either way. Just to be honest, I feel like it's a coin flip there.
Yeah, he adds he's 5-2 in a full PPR league, and an offer he was considering is Kyron and Swift for Hall and Jacobs. Now, if I could get that deal done, I think I would do it, but I don't think it happens. Would you do that deal, Coach?
Yeah, probably so. Full PPR, Jacobs got his first receiving touchdown the other night, right? So
of his career. That's a crazy stat.
Yeah. I was just looking up their receptions here too. Like, Jacobs has 16, the Swift's 19. Like, Swift has 80 some more yards receiving than Jacobs.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I
I
think
personally would rather have Swift, but
interesting. I think for me, I'm going to go Hall Jacobs. Although I do have some concerns. I mentioned in our group, like, does Brees' speed look like it's not there? And for me, it felt like it almost was kind of lacking this past week. But when we really break it down, is he that much slower? Was he tired? I don't know. It's a lot of speculation. The Jets have been in all sorts of turmoil, not necessarily related to Brees. But I do believe that he kind of looks a little bit off to me, but I think he's still probably the best player in this group. Kyron is running back 5 on the year, and he's certainly scoring touchdowns like a madman because he scored every single week. But, do you make anything out of this rumor of Stafford being traded out of LA?
Very little, very little. Like
Yeah.
I like the concept, I like the idea, but I don't. It just seems, I don't know, too good
So
to be
far
true kind of
fetched.
thing.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
think it'd be fun, but it's a little too far fetched too. Um,
yeah.
Epic Fail says also, would you rather have Otten? Oh, excuse me, I missed the
Mm.
first part. Let's jump to the first part. Do we think Jennings play this week? Did not practice today. Have waivers tonight. Now unsure how much fab I should put on him. Are you going after Juwan Jennings in any redraft leagues, Coach?
Possibly, maybe not. I'm not putting a ton of fab on him.
I'm not either.
I so my question to you, Matt, would be: how do you feel about like Ricky Pearsall now, Jacob Cowing? Are those two guys more valuable than Jennings?
I don't think immediately, no. I think Juwan Jennings is too important to this offense just because, one, Shanahan loves him. Two, he can block. And you just know he's going to be where he's supposed to and he's going to block. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I do have concerns that we're kind of chasing the points. Like, yes, he had that 46-point week a few weeks ago. And then, in week 4, he scored 12 points. But since then, it's been really nothing. I understand Ayuk and Debo were back. So that kind of impacts things. But to me, I don't want to chase these points. I think I'm going to try and avoid it if I can. Um, but let's jump to the second part of his question here. He says, would you rather have Otten or Ferguson for the rest of the season? And this is an easy answer for
Oh
me.
man.
It's Ferguson.
Well, I mean, the reason he's asking the question with Otten, right, is because all of a sudden he becomes more important because of the wide receiver issues there, which makes this a tricky question for me a little bit. Ferguson, who I think he's one of the top 5 tight ends in football. The Dallas has looked so bad, like as a whole. Like that Dallas offense is scuffling. So Ferguson has done very, very little, and it's really, frankly, been a little disappointing. But I do think he's going to get going. He's going to get more targets. Like Dak seems to find safety in a tight end. I still think I'm going to go with Ferguson.
Yeah, I think Ferguson's the better play. Certainly, Otten is going to be a little bit more fun since there's just nobody left there. He had 10 targets this past week, and he's had decent target totals all year. But I'm with you. I'm going to go with the better quarterback, and I think Dak's the better quarterback. And I just think they're going to throw the ball because I don't think they're going to quit. There's a lot of issues in Tampa Bay. I don't know what's going to happen because the defense is a mess. The wide receiver core is a mess. Um, the offensive line hasn't been the best play so far of the year. And then you got the running back trio, or trio to some people, not to me. But Ferguson, he just 11 targets week 3, 4 week 4, or excuse me, 7 week 4, and then 7 week 5. I'm going to roll with Ferguson here. But this kind of rolls into our next question too. We've got should I try to trade McLaurin and Ferguson or Lockett for Neighbors? Well, I don't know if that's going to get it done. It's tough to pry Neighbors off the Neighbors manager. I mean, the hype around him is unbelievable.
Yeah, it is. In our dynasty world, for instance, that's never happening. But in a redraft, the guy needs Ferguson really bad. I mean, he might think about it, but Ferguson's
Mm-hmm.
just not had a good enough year for me to want to make that move. Like it would need to be a tight end that's played a little better than Ferguson thus far.
So he says McLaurin and Ferguson or Lockett. Would I assume that means he could probably try McLaurin and Lockett for Neighbors. Now, if you can manage that deal, then sure, like by all means do it. I like Terry. I'm a Commanders fan myself, but I would rather have Neighbors just because he's just an unbelievable athlete, great at the position. He's proven already he's elite. And that's no disrespect to Terry, who's really good, but it's just a different offense.
And tell me too, Matt, like how you feeling about the quarterback situation in Washington? What's happening there?
So I've read, Dan said today he's not going to come out and say anything until Friday. and he said, let's just go to practice and get to work, which I respect that. I envision that Jaden will play. That's just my personal belief. Also, I need it because if your Bears beat my Commanders, I'm going to have to hear it for a whole year. So everyone be thinking about me and pray for my Commanders because we need Jaden Daniels back. But, you know, I'm not too worried
he's gonna
about
go
it.
against the first real defense he's faced all year.
You're crazy. You're crazy. You're crazy. I swear. So much hate for my man Daniels. He has had a gauntlet of a schedule. You don't even want to look at it.
I'm kidding. He's pretty good.
Yeah, hey, he is really good. But I'm excited for that game. It's going to be fun. Watch it in the 3:30 window or 4:30 for Eastern time zone folks. But let's carry on here, Coach. We've got another question said, another offer could be JT or Kyron, Swift, Kittle, and Cup for Brian Robinson, CD, and Saquon. That is a lot to break down. JT or Kyron, Swift, Kittle, and Cup for Brian Robinson, CD, and Saquon.
If I'm the Brian Robinson, CD, and Saquon guy, I'm holding those guys.
Yeah, I think I'm with you there too. This kind of feels like one of those deals where your best case is probably to break it down and go a little shallower, not quite go for the full blockbuster deal, because a lot of times when people see this many names, they can't break it down in their head and they just say no, or they see their first round pick and their second round pick and they're like, I don't want to do that. It's tough to trade for Cup, who is coming back from injury. You got Kittle. Sure, Kittle's good. But then Swift or Kyron, Coach? Let's just break that part down right there. Who would you rather move, Kyron or JT?
Redraft, I think I would try to move JT first, personally. Like, I just don't know what's going on injury there, but that's the other concern with him, right? Like, that's going to turn off the other buyer, is the injury thing going on there.
Sure. Yeah. So Dynasty, does that flip for you, JT over Kyron?
Yeah, probably. I'd rather hold JT.
I think so too. Hot Take City says hello to you too, Mr. Hot Take City. We're glad to have you in here. He's got a question down here too, so let's jump to that one. It says, I traded for Ayuk for Zay Flowers and Rome a couple weeks ago. You know, Coach is look, he's got the eyes and everything. Go ahead.
Brilliant. I love it, man. I love it. Ayuk's the most overrated receiver in the NFL in my eyes. Like, that's brilliant. And I'm going, this is before injury. Obviously, that looks great now. But before injury, I would have loved this deal.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. This is an unbelievable deal right now. I mean, especially given the injury, but I'm with Coach. Like prior to, I think I'd do this deal too. All right, let's jump to our next question here. Thoughts on Lockett this weekend? Should I try and trade him for Mooney, Addison, or Flowers, or someone else? Or maybe does he hold? I don't think you're going to get Flowers just because Flowers has played really, really well this season. The name that I like here is Darnell Mooney. He just continues to put up points, and I feel like no one talks about him.
Yeah, I agree, man. He's played really well. That seems like a deal someone might consider. Flowers is, to me, he's just so superior to Lockett right now in my eyes that I would hold Flowers if I'm that owner for sure.
Yeah, Flowers is wide receiver 19 on the year, but he's been involved. He's played really, really well. No, he didn't have a great game this past week against Tampa Bay, but that game was weird. Like, it just was weird. And Mooney, he's wide receiver 17 on the year, and just insane target volume. It's unbelievable. Here's his targets on the year: 3, 7, 8, 6, 16, 5, 8. Like, he's involved. He is a part of this offense. And Kirk's out there slinging it. So if you can move Lockett for Flowers, I am totally fine with that. As far as Lockett this week, Coach, is he someone that you'd consider flexing? He's got Buffalo, so I mean, it projects to probably be maybe a high scoring game, and possibly DK.
I mean, honestly,
is DK going to play?
That's a good question. Check that.
Yeah, I'll look at it.
Go there, ahead. But to me, Lockett's somebody I'm always willing to flex. Like, He's a guy that seems to just find a way to produce when you least expect it. Like he's a guy. If I'm trying to find somebody to flex and he's sitting down there on my bench, I'll grab Lockett and throw him in there as a flex most days, and not feel too terrible about it.
Yeah, so it looks like DK. Sorry, go ahead.
All right, go ahead.
DK did not practice today, and he does not plan to practice tomorrow. So that's something to monitor. I'm with Coach. I mean, Lockett is. Everyone makes fun of him because he dives down after he catches it, but that's why he's still doing it. And he's 32 and continues to just put up fantasy points. I mean, it's not going to win you the weeks like he did in the past, but I mean, he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games in double digits. So that's something.
Right. I really like. I mean, I was looking. Mooney's 12th in the league in targets so far. I mean, that's pretty impressive. Now, the only team slinging it more than Kirk right now is the Seahawks.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they are throwing it around everywhere right now.
No doubt. And I think I say this every single week. I think Geno's still leading the league in passing. I don't think that's changed. It's kind of funny to think that. You know, a lot of people thought that this team was going to transition into running the ball, and frankly, it's been throwing the ball. But I want to appreciate everybody who stopped in. Be sure to like the stream. Put your comments in here. Let us know your start-sit questions, buy, sell, any trades, redraft, dynasty, and we'll get to them. We appreciate everybody for putting their comments so far. Be sure to give us a follow over on X at the FF Mediators and subscribe to the YouTube. Subscribe to Face Off Sports Network. All right, let's jump to our next question here from Jonathan. He says, starting Hurts, Jacobs, Dobbins, Adams, Higgins, and Kelsey. Should I flex Devonta Smith after a poor performance or Mooney versus Tampa Bay? Well, the Mooney chat continues. So what do you think about that, Coach? I mean, Mooney, who's he got this week? He's got Tampa Bay, and then let's look up Devonta Smith here. He's got Cincinnati. That's an interesting matchup.
Yeah, and it's crazy to me to think like this, but that I'm actually going to say this. But Mooney feels like a safer play currently. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get that. My only concern is just, how much do we want to fault Devonta Smith? Because that game was a blowout, if I'm not mistaken. Let me look up the schedule here. But, Devonta Smith is the type of player where it just takes one play. We've seen the Bengals give up big plays. I'm immediately thinking Terry McLaurin. So I feel like I'm going to go with Devonta Smith just because he's the one that could win me the week. And I like playing for ceilings rather than playing for floors. Last week it was 28-3, so it was never a game. Saquon ran over everyone and everything. But do you have any fear with Devonta Smith for the rest of the year, Coach?
Well, I've got some fear in general with the Eagles' passing attack so far. I mean, it's been a huge struggle over the course of the year. I mean, for instance, Devonta Smith leads the team in targets with 34. Let me look this up. This is wild. He leads the team in targets with 34. The Falcons have 3 dudes with more than 34 targets. In McLeod, Mooney, and London.
That's actually a wild stat there.
Devonta has 32 targets. Drake London has 62. Mooney has 53. McLeod has 39. Yeah, that's why I say Mooney's a safer play. Bigger, more boom bust with Devonta. So if you want to just go all out, throw Devonta in there. If you need somebody that's just going to get you some points and you feel safe about, like you feel good about winning, then Mooney.
Yeah, I mean, they're kind of, the Bengals are middle of the road against wide receivers. I'm looking it up here. They're 17th on the season. So, I mean, it's not necessarily the best matchup. It's not the worst matchup. But I still think I'm going to go with the ceiling play here. But I can't fault you if you want Mooney because I've been hyping up Mooney all season, it feels like, because nobody's talking about him. But let's jump to our next question here, Coach. I need 2 flex among these 3, McBride, Addison, and Mooney. I also have London as my wide receiver 1 with only standard league with only 40 40 plus yard receptions, extra 1 point. Thank you. So the two I'm picking are McBride and Mooney. Coach, any difference there?
Nope, I'm exactly the same.
Yeah, I think McBride is just he's a good tight end. Um, the Cardinals' offense is kind of interesting with Kyler. He's not been playing very well, but Mooney. I mean, we've already said everything there. Coach, do you have any concerns with McBride?
I have a little bit concerned just because they've struggled to throw the ball a little bit here lately, but I still think he's so ultra talented that I
Yeah,
mean, coming down the stretch, I like it.
yeah, he's dominating snaps. He's got great target numbers every single week. So you keep playing McBride, it'll work out. Let's jump to our next question here. Does D Hop make Kelsey and Mahomes better? Because I have them both sitting on the bench. Well, I'll let Coach go first. I know he kind of highlighted this at the start of our stream here, but you know, I don't know. I'm happy with this. What do you think, Coach?
Yeah, I mean, he definitely makes them better. I mean, I think there's no way he doesn't improve that offense. Um, Mahomes is elite. I mean, I don't care what anybody says. I know he's struggled a little bit. Like, I would really like. I think D Hop's going to help. I mean, I really do. I think he's going to open up Kelsey a little more. I mean, everything about the addition of D Hop will help. Now, I don't think he's not D Hop of 5-6 years ago. That guy's not doesn't exist anymore. But he still walks into the room as one of their top two wide receivers, if not their best one.
Yeah, and I think we kind of take for granted what he was in the past. And like you said, no, he is not the D Hop of future, hasn't really done too much this season. But, last year with Will Levis, he was wide receiver 22. That's pretty
Mm-hmm.
good with being with Will Levis. I mean, he had 137 targets, 75 receptions, 1,000 yards, and 7 touchdowns. Could he do that with Patrick Mahomes? I think so. I mean, I'm not going to say he can't because it's Patrick Mahomes.
Well, in 6 games, he has 21 targets this year.
Yeah, and I expect his target volume to go up because it has not been good. And in Tennessee, I mean, 1, 2 for the first 2 weeks. He had 4 in week 4, 1 in week 7. Like he just wasn't involved, but that's for a whole bunch of reasons. I mean, Tennessee's a nightmare situation.
Yep.
Let's jump next here. Should I trade away Kyron, Puka, or excuse me, should I trade away Kyron since Puka and Cup are coming back? So wouldn't Kyron be less desirable? Well, certainly, yeah. If you have two players on the same offense, they're at different positions. Yeah, they can shark each other. If the passing game does well, less likely the running game does well, vice versa. So I do think there's something there. I wouldn't trade them just based on that. Coach, are you looking to move either one of those if you're stuck in this situation?
No, I would. I still think Kyron's going to be fine. I mean, he
Mm-hmm.
might be running back 5, but he's going to be top 10 running back when it's all said and done. And there's only a handful of those. Like, I like Kyron.
Yeah, I mean, he's scoring points. He's scoring touchdowns, like I said, touchdown every single week, multiple weeks with 2 touchdowns. As it goes for Puka and Cup, I mean, yeah, them coming back is going to help this offense, but we still know what the Rams offense is, and it's a pretty good team. Sean McVay knows what he's doing, so I'm going to trust that offense, and I wouldn't be so keen on trying to move them if I had them.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, let's go to Moose on the loose, but better go catch that Moose, my friend. Should I trade Reed and Hopkins for James Cook? I'm loaded at wide receiver with my 12 man and have Cooper Cup, Amari Cooper, and AJ Brown and JSN. I'm looking for another running back. I have Henry, Najee, and Dowdle. So, Coach, would you do Reed and Hopkins for James Cook?
I would 100%. Like, I just think this is a good ad for your team. Now, do I think Reed is good? Absolutely. Hopkins is still not going to be a playable guy with the group that you have. Like, I think adding James Cook makes your team better, no doubt.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sitting here thinking in my head, I'm like, well, worst case scenario, you just go Cooper, AJ Brown, Cooper Cup comes back. That's great. You got JSN, and then Henry, Najee, Dowdle. So now you're looking at Henry, Najee, James Cook. That's pretty solid. I'm fine with that trade if you can get it done. Let's go to Raven here. So should I flex Deontay Johnson, Ladd, Marvin Harrison Jr., or D Hop this week? Well, I'm not sure that Deontay's playing. I've kind of read that he's trending towards not playing. Um, he didn't practice today, so I wouldn't necessarily bank on that. What about you, Coach? You heard anything different?
No, that's what I saw the same thing earlier today.
Okay.
Maybe Lad for me. Lad.
Yeah, Lad's got consecutive games with 8+ points. The week before that, he had 17, almost 18 points. He's been really involved. I think he's really underrated just with how well Neighbors and Brian Thomas are playing. We're kind of forgetting about Lad. No, it's not the best offense in the world, but he's still going to be involved and he's a vital part of it. Who do the Cardinals have this week?
They have the Dolphins.
The Dolphins. Marvin Harrison. That's someone that Coach has been talking about here recently too. Are you comfortable firing up Marvin Harrison, or are you kind of slow in the roll there?
I'm slow in the roll there a little bit myself. That's why I like Lad better right now.
Yeah, I think I'd go with Lad too. I mean, I can't fault you if you want to chase the points with Marvin Harrison. I don't think I'm going to start D-Hop right away just because it's Kansas City and they do all sorts of weird things, bringing people in and, everyone gets the ball. They're also playing the Raiders, and I don't think the Raiders are very good, so this game could be over very, very quick.
I think in redraft, Marvin Harrison's not a guy like I'm in love with playing right now. Like in Dynasty, I'm holding him, feeling pretty good about his upside down the road, but I don't think this is a guy that's gonna just boom anytime in the next couple of weeks. I mean, he already had one big game, but he hasn't shown any consistency in his game whatsoever just yet. So it's going to take some time. Passing game struggling there. On top of that, Kyler Murray has not thrown the ball well the last few weeks. I mean, Lad has a better passing quarterback to me too.
Yeah, I think I'm going with Lad too out of this group, but monitor the injuries because they've all have a little bit of designation with them. Let's go to Blair Webb over on YouTube. Says, would you drop either Waddle or Jennings for Hopkins? I'm not going to drop Waddle. I'd drop Juwan Jennings for Hopkins, but that's just me.
Yeah, I agree. Especially with Tua coming back, Waddle's production will increase as long as Tua is healthy and playing.
Yeah. All right, let's move to a harder
question. Tua is
a
pretty good quarterback. Tua can play, and the Dolphin offense is 100,000 times better when Tua's taking the snaps.
Yeah, he's actually kind of proven that he's good because this offense is just lost without him. Like it's been horrible, and there's a history of that too. So props to Tua; he deserves the credit. Wish him the best. Hope he can stay healthy because he's a good player when they have him out there.
Absolutely.
But let's go to a harder question from J2. Would you drop Wandale for D-Hop, Coach? You're a big Wandale believer.
Man, I don't know what to think about Wandale. I think he had 7 catches last week for 23 yards or something like that. Like
6 catches for 23.
It blows 6 for 23. Like it blows my mind the target share that this guy's still getting. Like he's still getting tons of targets and gaining no yards. Go ahead.
Do you still have the target list pulled up? I'd love to know where he's at on that. I mean, I'm looking at it. Second?
He's second in NFL in targets. It's Garrett Wilson with 76 and Wandale has 67.
Whew. Yeah,
like
it's crazy. Yeah, that 14.
So I mean, as long as that
Dallas.
Yeah, as long as that target share keeps up, like second in NFL in targets, and I'm trying to find him in yards here. I'm scrolling. 41 in yards.
Yeah, that's not a great correlation for him. Now, granted, he's kind of a. Go ahead.
But if you're if it's PPR J2, then I'm holding Wandale. Period.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, just staring at these target numbers, it's insane. 12, 8, 14, 9, 11, 9. Like you can't get that everywhere. Like there's volume there. Let's jump to Epic Fails question. Which QB would you start this week? Geno without DK versus Buffalo, A-Rich versus Houston, Bo Nix versus Carolina, or May versus the Jets? I think for me, I'm going to go with Geno without DK. That is a really tough question.
Like for me, it's Geno Bo Nix, May, A-Rich in that order.
Exact same. And I know this is going to be a hot take. So if anybody's in here and they have some A-Rich knowledge or some A-Rich takes, I'd love to hear them because Coach and I are two people that have faded Anthony Richardson all offseason and all season. And it's kind of sticking that way so far. Also, J-Tube asked, would you drop Geno for May?
Absolutely not.
Coach says absolutely not. May's played
Geno's
really well.
throwing
To
that
his
thing,
credit.
man.
He is.
Yeah,
He
no,
is.
he has.
I mean,
May
I
has
think
played well.
he scored 20 plus in both weeks he started. I don't love the matchup versus the Jets. I really don't. Like, I think he might get in a little bit of trouble there with just how bad the Jets need this. Hassan Reddick's coming back. We know the Patriots' offensive line. Can they hold up? Maybe. But I like the Jets this week.
Yeah, Geno's still QB7 overall, too.
There we go. Andrew says, do we take it slow with Tua coming back for Tyreek, or is he a must start? My wide receivers are Amon-Ra, Higgins, Reed, Tyreek, and D-Hop. It's a pretty solid wide receiver room there. If we're only starting two, what two are you picking, Coach?
Amon-Ra and Tyreek.
I think you fire up Tyreek too. I just think how the season has gone, they need some life. The last time we saw Tua and Tyreek, they were great in week one. Can Tua come back and do it with Tyreek? I think he can because Tyreek's that good. I'm comfortable firing up Tyreek. If you're not, I can't blame you if you want to start Amon-Ra and Higgins or Reed. But I would definitely have D-Hop at the last of this list.
Yep.
Let's hit our next question here. It says, I can do Kyron, Swift, and Cup and Kittle for sake. Oh, I think we already did this. Yeah, we did this question. I'm sorry. Trade question for us, Coach. We've got get A-Chain and Mostert for Scary Terry. I'd be left with Justin Jefferson, Amari, Olave, Jennings, and Jamison Williams. Are you doing this trade?
Yes. I'll take A-Chain and Mostert. I mean, considering your wide receiver room, yes. I think that makes you better. Jameson's getting ready to serve a 2-game suspension. So
that's
depends
true.
on what you're looking like bye week there too, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you're buying wins or if you need help, then certainly do what you need to do. But I'm with Coach here. Give me A-Chain. Obviously, no, it's not been what you wanted out of him. But again, I think a lot of this just goes to how bad the Dolphins' offense has been just struggling in general. So if Tua can come back and get this team rolling, he had 23 points that week one with Tua. So maybe there's something there.
They've just been loading up on the run without Tua there.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So let's hit our next question here from Big E. He says, should I trade DJ Moore and Cedric Tillman for Debo Samuel and Sean Tucker? Interesting little side pieces we're adding here of Cedric Tillman and Sean Tucker. Really, for me, it just comes down to DJ Moore versus Debo Samuel. Coach, where do you fall there?
I like DJ Moore. What's happened with Debo health situation?
So I read that he's going to be fine. I mean, he was back with the team. He didn't practice today, but he's just going to need a little bit of time to get healthy because it's not really an injury scare; it's more of an illness. So, I mean that's kind of what I'm going to say helps. But again, it's something to monitor and something serious that should be watched. But I don't know, Coach. Debo, he's wide receiver 35 on the year. Obviously, he's missed some time. DJ Moore, on the other hand, is wide receiver 23 and has played every single game. So, I mean, which offense do you want to be a part of? For me, I think I want Debo.
Yeah, I think I like Debo, mostly because they'll hand him the football too. I definitely like that aspect. Sean Tucker and Tillman, that's interesting there too. Tillman had a really good game the other day, which makes him interesting too. So I think I would go Debo and Sean Tucker myself.
Okay. Yeah, let's do a little ranking here for John Curtis. It says, please rank Tua, Kyler, and Caleb. Now, this is a list with a lot of discussion that the two of us have had independently off camera. We've talked a lot about these three quarterbacks. So, Coach, would you like to go first? You want me to? I'll go first.
Yeah,
You
you
look
go.
like you're thinking.
I
If we're
am.
talking,
I'm pondering this.
yeah, you're looking something up. You're gonna blast some stat out here in a second, I'm sure. If we're talking redraft here, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Kyler to a Caleb. That's what I'm gonna do if we're talking redraft. Just because I think Kyler's gonna put up fantasy points. Like I know you don't believe in him as a quarterback, and that's fine. I'm kind of starting to follow you, but he's still quarterback 7 on the year. Like that's can't be denied. Caleb Williams, he's quarterback 19 on the year, so hasn't been as great. Obviously, he didn't have the touchdown first couple weeks, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, man, this is hard. I mean, Kyler's rushing upside is real, right? Like, if I want a guy to stand back there and win me a game, I would probably say Tua, Caleb, Kyler in that order. Fantasy wise, which is obviously what we're talking about here, I'm taking Kyler, Tua, Caleb.
Wow.
And I'll
Did
tell
that
you
hurt?
why, because it hurt bad. But I'll tell you why is because what the Bears are getting ready to run up against, they've got to play the Packers twice. They've got to play the Lions twice. They've got to play the Vikings twice. They haven't played any of those guys yet. Like,
Who do they play this week?
I don't know. Some team that they're going to
Huh.
beat.
I doubt it. That Washington defense is so stout. We are known for DBs. Just watch out. Forbes is getting a pick this week to the house. That's my prediction. For what it's worth, folks, last week I predicted the Zach Ertz touchdown. Let's move on. Enough about my Commanders.
Ben sent it to the moon.
Yeah, Ben Sinnott scored 2. That was nice to see. He had 2 catches for like 3 yards. All right, let's do I start Kelsey, Kittle, or Ingram? Kelsey might have a monster game because it's the Raiders. It is the Raiders. Interesting tight end room here. How did you assemble this? This is unbelievable.
This dude has everybody.
He's got Bowers on the bench too. He just doesn't want to play him. I think I'm going to go with Ingram. It was an awful week last week, but I mean, I'm going to roll with Ingram.
I'm going Kelsey.
Interesting. Kelsey. Okay. Well, there you go. There you have it. All right, let's move on to Juan's question over on YouTube. Says, I actually didn't pull out on a trade on Yahoo. The guy took advantage. Should I be worried to give up Etienne, Downs, Lazard for Godwin and still got Kenneth Walker, Kyron, Brees, and Justin Jefferson and DJ Moore? Which, if this guy took that deal after the injury, that sucks. I mean, certainly I would say, yeah, you should have pulled the trade back, but man, that's just a low blow move.
Yeah, to me, that's just terrible.
Yeah, I feel for you there. Sorry that happened to you. You still got Kyron, Kenneth Walker, Brees, Justin Jefferson, and DJ Moore. Yeah, you've got names. You can survive this. I mean, obviously Etienne was down. Josh Downs is attached to Anthony Richardson, so capped value there. And Lazard, I don't really care too much about. So I'd throw Godwin in your IR spot, maybe get a little good juju in the world for you holding on to him, and then go win that championship with Justin Jefferson, Kyron, Brees, and Walker there.
Yeah, I'm with you. Hey.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, you guys smash that like button.
Yes, sir.
Like, subscribe, all those good things.
Yeah, like and subscribe. Keep commenting. We'll work our way down this list and answer all your questions. So we're happy to be here. Please be sure to give us a follow over on X at the FF Mediators. You can also subscribe to our YouTube there. It helps us out. We greatly appreciate everybody who's tuning in, watching the show, and we'll move on to Juan's second part of his question here. He says, just picked up Rashad Bateman. Is he worth it, especially after losing Downs, Lazard? I still have Jefferson, DJ Moore, Wan'Dale Robinson, Jacoby Myers. Yeah, I think it's absolutely worth it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Bateman flashes every now and then, man. Like, right when you write him off and say he's not even good, the dude catches a deep ball. Like,
yeah, he's got 3 straight games of double-digit points. In week 3, he had double-digit points too. So I think it's worth an ad. He shouldn't be on waivers. I'll tell you that much. So if he's available, go grab him.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Also, guys, super chat's an option as well if you want to skip the line and get your question answered for sure.
Yeah, if it's time sensitive, feel free to throw in a super chat and we will jump to it. Otherwise, we got to keep working down the list because we're trying to help everybody out here. So, JTube asked Coach, what about? Oh, I'm sorry, we did that one. Jeez, I don't know what's going on. Is Tillman worth a look?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm pulling up his game last week. 82% of the snaps, 12 targets, 8 receptions, 81 yards. I mean, yeah, I think you should just because there's not much else in this offense. So, I mean, somebody's going to have to catch the ball because they're going to be down. They're going to be throwing the ball. Jameis Winston was announced as the starter. So you've got what I'm going to call a competent veteran quarterback. Not saying he's great or anything, but he at least should be able to run an offense for a little bit, right, Coach?
Yeah, I'm with you on that completely.
Yeah. Let's move to Blair's question here. It says Bucky or Rico? This is Bucky. It's not even close for me. Coach, go ahead.
I think it is. I agree with him. I think it is Bucky. But I mean,
Ooh.
honestly, the Rico thing still blows my mind. Like it should be Rico to me because he should be the clear cut guy in Dallas. But that's such a mess that Bucky getting a third of the carries is still more valuable. I don't get it.
I can't disagree with you at all there. I love Bucky Irving. I've been a big fan of him. But as far as it goes for Rico, like he is certainly the best running back in Dallas, and why he's not playing is beyond me. But as a Washington fan, I appreciate it. So just keep not playing him. Run all this mix of running backs out there and just do your weird things, Dallas, because what are we doing?
Yeah, it makes zero sense.
Yeah, Daniel Cap says, "Hey fellas, Kyler owner worried. Should I pick up Caleb May or Gino? IR5. Who's IR5? Why am I blanking? Why am I blanking on IR5?
I don't know who that is.
Yeah, I don't know either. I'm blanking. I'm not sure. But would you do anything here, Coach? Would you move Kyler for one of those other names? I'm not. I'm sticking with Kyler just because of that rushing upside.
Yeah, the rushing upside is worth so much, and he's played okay, and he's still QB6. So yeah, I'm gonna hang on to Kyler.
Yeah, I mean, the rushing is unbelievable, especially the last few weeks. I mean, this past week, 6 for 64 and a touchdown. Before that was 7 for 14. Not as great, but then he had 7 for 83 and a touchdown. He's got 5 for 49. Like, he's just a different level fast when he gets in open space.
Yeah, and I mean, if I was going to take one of the guys in the list, to me it would be Geno. But I mean, I know a guy that traded a third-round pick for Geno Smith. So,
oh, really? Yeah. What a move! What a move! Yeah, I think if I was going to pick someone out of this list, I might take Caleb just for the upside. While I did say earlier I'd start Geno over Caleb, and I ranked him ahead over the rest of the season, but if I had an extra spot and I can still have Kyler, then I might take Caleb just for the upside.
well, and he's been playing better and better.
I agree. It's been better every single week. We got to start 2 plus effect flex coach. We've got Brian Thomas Jr., Malik Neighbors, Drake London, and Tyreek. Who's your 3?
Wait, is that Drake London? I guess so.
I'm assuming it's Drake London.
That's a tough one.
Yeah. How are you guys assembling these teams? These are tough questions you're giving us. While you think, I think I'm
16 leagues or something.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with London, Tyreek, and man, Jags have the Packers. Give me Neighbors. I think I'll do Neighbors.
Giants have the Steelers in Pittsburgh. I'm taking, I'll take Brian Thomas Jr. London and Tyreek.
Yeah, I think between Neighbors and BTJ, it's a toss up. Like I don't know. It's pretty
I would
close.
love to have this problem. Just saying.
It's a good problem to have. Props to you, Justin.
Mm.
Next question here, Coach. Do we hold on Kittle since he's one of the only weapons on the 49ers, but his injuries make it concerning? His injuries do make it concerning, but again, we're playing fantasy football. Any one of our players can get injured. So I try not to worry too much about injuries and just play week to week. Now, if you've got someone who's been banged up all year or, has some serious injury concerns like, Tua or something like that, then that's something to think about. But I'm not going to panic too much on Kittle. Are you, Coach?
Nah. And Kittle's a good player. Like you said, when he's healthy,
Mm-hmm.
he's really good. Injuries have been all over the place for everybody. Like there's not a manager anywhere that doesn't have an injury and probably a major one at some point. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna hang on to Kittle.
Yeah, Kittle's tied in too on the year, so I'm going to keep rolling with Kittle, especially with how the tight end market has been. Now, if somebody wants to trade with you, then that's a different story because, yes, he did miss week 3, but here's his fantasy point totals on the year: 10, 24, missed a game, 16, 24, 25, 18. Like, you couldn't ask for better except for one person. So I think for me, I'm taking Kittle, I'm holding Kittle, and I'm going to throw him in my lineup happily.
Yep.
RL says thanks. Thanks, RL. We appreciate you being here. Luca, you've been here, I think, every single week on our show, so we appreciate you coming in, stopping in, and giving us some questions to talk about. We've got today: do I trade J.K. Dobbins for Najee Harris? That is an interesting question. I think, man, where do you fall on that, Coach? Got the 26-year-old J.K. Dobbins.
This is such a good question because these guys couldn't be more similar. Like when you look at their stats, one's running back 19, the other one's running back 20. Like one averages 5 yards a carry, the other one 4.3. They have the exact same amount of rushing yards. Now, granted, Najee Harris has played one additional game. So there is that. Najee Harris has one less catch. Man, these guys could not be more similar. So this is a heck of a question. I kind of would lean towards Najee myself the remainder of the season. So I'm gonna go Najee.
I think if you asked me this question at any other point in my life, I would have said Najee easily. And I'm gonna go with JK. Like, I'm sitting here looking at it, like you said, they couldn't be more similar, but JK's had several explosive games. I do think the Steelers are going to involve Jalen Warren because I think he helps this offense. Like, I think they need that stability from a second guy to kind of open up the passing game a little bit more. I mean, we already saw what Russ can do extending the ball downfield with Pickens. And I think Jalen Warren's going to help him do that by, having an attack underneath. So give me J.K. Dobbins, and I'm going to be scared and close my eyes while I do it, but I'll give it a roll.
Yeah.
All right, let's hit Wade's question here, Coach. Wade asks, Cup, Jacobs, and Dobbins, which two do I play?
Cup and Jacobs for me. Cup and Jacobs for me. If Cup is playing, then you have to play Cup. He will get peppered with targets and he will produce.
He said it all. I agree. Let's move to our next question here. Should I trade away Amon-Ra for Puka and Jaden Reed? I lost Ayuk and Godwin. Still have London PPR. Wow, that's a tough loss for you there with Ayuk and Godwin back to back as well. You still have London, so you'd have Puka, London, Jaden Reed. Or do you feel better about Amon-Ra and London here, Coach?
I would make the trade if I saw Puka play a game back healthy and felt good about it. You know what I mean? It's really risky considering you haven't seen Puka on the field yet, especially in redraft. He's not going to play Thursday, I don't think. He may play next week. That's what it looks like.
He's listed as questionable, so that is risky. I mean, I would first look to see if there's another name on that team. Obviously, Puka's probably the highest profile name since you're giving up Amon-Ra. But is there somebody else that you can grab or maybe get something on top to just spare you for the week? do they have D-Hop? Do they have – I'm trying to think of like a flex wide. Do they have a Mooney? Do they have someone like that you can say, I need someone to play right now too? So if you could get them thrown into the deal, then that might help you. But, I mean, I get it. You need bodies at this point, and a 2-for-1 might be what you have to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that makes sense to me for sure. So.
Yeah. Luca responds to our question of does he trade J.K. Dobbins for Najee? So I'm starting J.K. and Kareem Hunt, but I have CMC who's coming back soon. I have London Neighbors at wide receiver. Do I trade one of them for a good running back? Well, Luca, I'll start by saying this. If you start J.K. and he goes off, yeah, I'm glad I was able to help you there. If he does not go off, then you should have listened to Coach. Don't listen to me.
Yeah.
I mean, do you have a name here, Coach, that comes to mind if you're thinking about trading somebody out of this group here? I
mean, if
wouldn't
I'm
hold
trading
my
London or
breath.
Neighbors, I can probably get a lot when it comes to a
Mhm.
good running back. So, I mean, goodness gracious. Like, if I'm going to trade one of them, I'm expecting to get like a Kyron Williams, for instance.
Yeah,
You know?
I agree. And if I'm looking at trade one, I think I'm going to trade Neighbors just because London is in the more stable offense in my mind. Just
Mm-hmm.
because this is a Kirk versus Daniel Jones slash um, who's the Drew Lock. They played Drew Lock last week when they benched Daniel Jones. So I'm not exactly thrilled to start a Giant, but if I am, I want it to be Malik Neighbors. And obviously, he's really good and he can produce despite the quarterback play. But give me London here. If I'm moving Neighbors, go get Kyron, go get a big name like that, maybe Kenneth Walker. Saquon. You might not be able to get Saquon after this past week, but one of those names, just because I think those guys are going to really help your fantasy team and kind of help you explore a little bit more of how to find some points.
Yeah.
All right. Luca adds to Coach, start one, Dell, Waddle, Hopkins, Wandale, or Romeo Dobbs. Dell, this is an interesting topic here, Coach. I know we both have been Tank Dell believers. We like the Texans offense. We liked Nico. How are you feeling about Tank Dell so far?
I don't even know what to say about Tank Dell. Like, I think Tank Dell's a good player. Things have just not went well for him at all. Like, I really thought he would take off when Nico went out too, and that just hasn't been the case. The dude didn't catch a single pass last week. I think he only got 3 targets. I didn't see that coming, like not even a little bit.
Mm-mm.
So I'm definitely starting. I would start Waddle out of this group. Give me an order on this group there, Matt.
Ooh, that is for this week or rest of the season?
Rest of the
This week,
season.
rest of the season. Okay.
Rest of the season.
I'll go.
It's hard.
That was really hard.
Romeo Dobbs is interesting here lately too.
He's putting up points. I mean, golly, where do you put Hopkins? Like, I think Hopkins shoots up to a top 24 wide receiver. So here's my list in a vacuum. Give me Waddle, Hopkins, Dell, Dobbs, Wandale. That's what I'm going with. What about you, Coach?
Oh, it is hard. To me, it's Waddle won by a lot. To me, like Waddle for me with Tua back is the top of this list by a lot. That's just me. I'm going a different route here. I'm going to go Waddle. I'm going Waddle, Dale, Wandale, Dobbs, Hopkins. I don't think Hopkins becomes anything spectacular.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know.
Useful, useful, not spectacular.
Useful. That's a fair thing to say. For me, we've talked about Wandale, like he's getting all the volume, not getting any yards. Dobbs is in a packed offense. Everybody's scoring points. Hopkins is interesting given the landing spot, given Patrick Mahomes needs a one. But I'm with you. Waddle's the easy first guy here, but we've kind of avoided the question here. Luca, I'm sorry, but my start would be Waddle. Coach, I think you said Waddle was your start too.
Yes, yes.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, Dell has not been good so far. Not been good at all. Um, RL says need a defense to stream New England, Miami, or the Giants, coach. I think before we go any further, we have to plug in here that you should go watch Pete's video. So head over to the Face Off YouTube. You're already on this channel, so just click on it. Scroll down till you see a start sit 'em for defenses. Pete's in there. That guy has been absolutely on fire picking his defenses. I think he's hit one every single week that's below 25% rostered, that's finished in the top 10. Last week he picked the Commanders, and they finished number 2 overall. So he is absolutely somebody that I defer to and listen to often when thinking about a defense.
Yep, absolutely. If I'm just picking one of these three, um, I would take New England personally. They're at home. They're playing the Jets. Miami has the Cardinals, and the Giants are on the road against Pittsburgh on Monday night. So I would take New England. I don't feel great about that necessarily, but I mean, Pete probably has the best answer for us when it comes to defenses. Like you said, he's so good at it. I recommend that with Matt also. So I'm thinking New England myself here.
Yeah, for me, I'm gonna go with the Dolphins. It just feels like Tua coming back, Dolphins playing at home. Maybe they get some mojo back, get something going. I'm gonna start the
And the Cardinal
Dolphins.
offense hasn't been great, right?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's not been what we thought it would be. They're scoring points, but it's not in traditional ways. It's just been it's just been off. It's been odd. Marvin Harrison Jr. has kind of been underperforming. They don't have anybody else out there other than McBride to catch the ball that's done anything. Zay Jones got suspended to start the year. Like, Arizona's just all over the place, man. Let's hit Brock's question here, Coach. He says, would you trade Terry and Dowdle for Amari and Ramondre? Full PPR. Josh Allen is his quarterback. I mean, I like Amari. Do I like him more than Terry? Because Terry's finally been opened up. He's spreading the field, able to connect with Jaden Daniels. He finally has a quarterback getting the ball. Ramondre, I mean, let me pull up Ramondre here. Running back 31 on the year. He had the weird thing where he got benched for fumbling. Only had 4 points last week. Coach, what are your thoughts here?
Just full transparency. I don't think the stack matters either way for me. The Allen and Amari stack. Like, I'm not a huge stack believer. Some people are. I just am not. I would personally, for me, hang on to Terry and Dowdle.
Yeah, I think I'm leaning towards Terry and Dowdle. Just kind of looking at Ramondre, like it's not the most exciting box score you'll ever see. Um, Patriots offense, it's better with Drake May, and Drake May deserves some credit for that. So I'll give him there. But I like Terry. Maybe Dowdle gets going, and Dallas finally realizes who they have at running back. But yeah, I'm with you. I'm not buying into the stack.
Yeah.
Lucas says, thanks, guys. No, Lucas, thanks for being here. We appreciate you being here. One last request we'd make is make sure you hit that like button.
Yep.
Jonathan Mateo over on YouTube says, I got a running back. Brees, Mason, Hunt, Montgomery. Wide receiver, he's got Higgins, Amari Cooper, Hopkins, Deontay Johnson, and Dobbs with Cooper Kupp. Tight end, we've got Kelsey, Ferguson, and Otten. What kind of trades do you think I should make? Thinking on trading away Mason. Coach, let's start here. Do you think that this team is one that should be thinking about moving Mason, or should you try and hold him? I mean, we're approaching when people think CMC might be back. Talks of early November. It's October 23rd here. Are you moving Mason?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I would consider moving Mason now. It's now or never in that category for me. If you're going to move Mason, you need to do it soon. Definitely could use a little jolt to the wide receiver room, probably. So yeah, I really feel like Mason's something you can think about doing here.
Maybe you take like Mason and D-Hop and you try and shoot up for somebody that's been injured. I'm thinking a wide receiver here. I don't think you can reach Puka, but I certainly would inquire if I could. Um, would you move those two for Romo Dunze? I don't think I would do that. I'm thinking about it.
No, no.
Um, Chris Olave, Devonta Smith. Devonta Smith's an interesting one. I would probably do D Hop and Mason for Devonta Smith. That gives you upside, good wide receiver, and an okay offense. Home run hitter.
Yeah, and I think he's going to get a lot better too as we go. And the Devontae owner is going to be somebody that's pretty bummed out because he hasn't produced the way he hoped that he would, and he may consider doing that.
Yeah. What about Jalen Waddle?
Yeah, that's the same. Him and Devontae are the same thing to me. So yeah.
Yeah. I certainly think that if you're doing something like that, definitely make a move. Is there somebody straight up that you would trade Mason for, Coach? Just kind of thinking a 1-for-1 wide receiver here.
Whew, straight up. I mean,
Darnell Mooney?
Darnell Mooney. I was going to go there. We've said his name 100 times tonight. Darnell Mooney, George Pickens.
There you
George
go.
Pickens is a name too that's going to get better now that Russell Wilson's throwing him the ball.
Oh, completely agree. The other thing too that I think you might think about with this team is you've got Kelsey, Ferguson, and Otten. A lot of hype around Otten right now. Does it manifest anything? Maybe. I wouldn't necessarily bet on it, but that's just my opinion. He's tied in 12 on the year, and he's had a great amount of targets the entire season. So I think I would try and move Otten and Mason and just see how high I can go. If you can reach some of those names that we've said, then that's awesome.
Yep.
William says, evening, gents. Evening to you, sir. We're glad you're here. I believe you're another person that's been here every single week. So thanks for coming back. We appreciate you being here, William. If you got anything for us, let us know. Justin adds on YouTube, Coach, if Taylor is out and I go with Dowdle off the bye, or does he go with Chase Brown? JT just can't stay healthy this year. No doubt, man. He has not been healthy. We've talked about Rico so far today, about, are you going to play him, Coach, given how Dallas is treating that position? Chase Brown scored a couple touchdowns in the last few weeks, 13 points week 6, 7 points last week. What are you doing?
Well, I do look for Dowdle, not necessarily Dowdle, but the Dallas offense to make some changes coming out of the bye. Like something's going to be a little different there. But Chase Brown has sort of ascended to the top of that Cincinnati backfield. I'm going to go with Chase Brown.
Okay. And he's kind of getting goal line carries too, which I think a lot of people didn't really see coming. Not saying I saw it coming. I'm just saying in general. But yeah, I think I'm going to lean Chase Brown just with the offense. Decent matchup with it being Philly. They're going to have to score some points. But that's just me.
Yep.
All right, let's see here. Kobe over on YouTube says, in y'all's opinion, what are good running backs or wide receivers to target to buy for the playoffs? If y'all thought that far yet. We are always thinking that far. We are trying to win some championships here. We certainly have some names that we've already thrown out today in this stream that we would be thinking about. Coach just mentioned George Pickens a moment ago. That's someone that I would be thinking about, just given, how he looked completely different with Russell Wilson in there.
Yep, 100%. We've said Mooney's name 100 times. That's somebody. Running back wise, DeAndre Swift for me is somebody that can be had relatively cheap. That's getting tons of volume, and I don't see that changing anytime soon.
Yeah, I might look for Brian Robinson. He's been injured a little bit, kind of been quiet for the Commanders. Do I expect him to play better? I do. I think he's a really good player in what's a surprisingly good offense. On the year, he's running back 17. This past week, he had 13 points. Week before that, he was out. So it's probably going to be a little bit harder to buy, but I just feel like a lot of people just glance over him.
Yeah, and I do like Chase Brown also. Trying to find a little bit deeper of a dive here, possibly. I do like Devontae Smith. We've said that name a lot. He's wide receiver 36. Like I said, the owner in your league may be down on him. Now could be an opportunity for you to capitalize on that.
Yeah, I think if you can get something done like that, then certainly by all means. Um, if there's another name out there, how do you feel about Jonathan Brooks? That's a little bit riskier given he hasn't even played a down yet. Looking like he's going to be activated here soon, Coach. Would you play him, or would you make a move for him? I should say.
Um, I would. I can't give up a whole lot for him. I just so uneasy about what's going to happen considering Hubbard has played well. Another name that kind of jumps out at me too is well, we've said Ferguson a lot. So I mean that's a name without a doubt.
Yeah, I was going to add
And
too.
Evan Ingram.
Evan Ingram. There's better days ahead for Evan Ingram. He's such a vital part for the Jaguars offense. They missed him tremendously during that bad spell. So I expect heavy involvement for Ingram going forward. In another tight end that we kind of haven't talked about, I don't really think at all, today or in the past videos we've done, TJ Hawkinson. Like, he's about to get activated. This offense is good. The team is good. I think he's going to be good for this offense.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I'm with you.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to Jesse's question over here, Coach. It says Deontay Johnson, Jacoby Myers, and Demario Douglas. Which two do you start? This is a tough spot to be in, Jesse, and I feel for you here.
Yeah, it's not a good look here. Deontay may not play, so that may solve the question for you.
Yeah, I think you monitor that. If Deontay plays, I think I'm going Deontay and Demario Douglas.
Yep, I'm with you.
Yeah, Pop has been he's an interesting player, man. I want to pull up his stats from this past week, and
He's a
so
bit of a
far,
roller coaster.
Yeah. He's only had 3.4 points last week, excuse me. And then the week before that, he had 22, then 12, then 4, then 14. So he's kind of been all over the place, like I said, a roller coaster, but he has 3 weeks with 9 targets. He's playing the Jets. So I don't know. I think I'm going to go with Pop here and Deontay. But if Deontay doesn't play, then like Coach said, you're going to be forced to play Jacoby Myers.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Jonathan says, I got a Dunze on waivers. Is he worth picking up?
Yes.
I agree. Grab him if you can. You just don't know with this offense who's getting better and better every single week. But hopefully he does not do too well this week. Sorry. Jesse says, for running backs, he's got Saquon and Brees. Wide receivers, A.J. Brown, Puka, Deontay Johnson, Waddle, Demario Douglas. His tight end is Laporta and Hunter Henry. What trades seem like a good idea at this moment? Well, looking at this list here, I don't know who your backup running backs are, but if those are the only two that you can list, you probably need a running back in there. But you also could use some help at wide receiver. What's your immediate thought here, Coach? My head goes to moving Puka.
My head goes to a possible Brees Hall tear down, maybe, or even a Saquon tear down. Like, can I move Saquon for James Conner and a wide receiver that would start for me? That's a possibility.
Something like that. I think there's a world where you could probably turn Saquon into like Alvin Kamara and I don't know, maybe like a Lad McConkey or something like that, where you get some wide receiver help, you get a startable player for your team, and you still have a startable running back who's going to score a ton of points.
Yep, that's what I'm thinking. That tear down could make your team a lot better.
Mm-hmm. If I was exploring a move with Puka, obviously it's a little harder because, like Coach said, he hasn't played snaps. You're going to have to find someone that's willing to buy in. I'm looking at the same names we've said 100 times tonight. Devonta Smith, George Pickens, Drake London. If I can get there, I don't think you can get there. You probably have to pay a little bit more. What about T. Higgins, Coach? Any interest in T. Higgins?
Yeah, he's playing better and better. The offense is getting better. Like I got a lot of interest in T. Higgins. He's last couple of weeks he's played like the T. Higgins of old.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's hit David's question here. It says Tank Dell, Ladd, or Keon? We're pausing because, man, this is a question that week one we would have said, oh, Tank Dell, right? And here we are. And it just feels like playing Tank Dell is not been a great experience so far. For me, I'm going to start Ladd.
Yeah, it's Ladd, Tank Dell, Keon in that order for me.
Yeah, I haven't been the biggest Keon believer. I do think that there's something to be said for them bringing in Cooper because I don't think Keon can be that one that the team was hoping he could be. Maybe they didn't think he would be that at all, but I mean, it's big play dependent for him so far.
Yeah.
All right, let's hit Jeffrey here. Jeffrey says, before the injury, I traded Mason, Burrow, and Adams for Godwin, Bijan, and Pickens. Is there anyone on the waiver wire, like second-tier wide receivers, that can possibly replace some of what Godwin was doing? I mean, if you shoot us who's on the wire, we certainly can help pick through some names there. But just off the top of my head, Coach, let me pull up a league here and look at some names that are available in my leagues. We can kind of walk through those and see if any of them are
here's the
serviceable.
Let's ask this right quick. So, what about in Tampa Bay? How do you feel about McMillan? How do you feel about those guys in Tampa Bay?
Palmer, are you Palmer or McMillan? I think myself. I think I read that. Is it McMillan has more snaps, and routes, but Palmer has more catches and yards. I think that's how it broke down. I'm going to go with McMillan just because he kind of feels like he could slide into that role for the injured Mike Evans. Replacing Godwin in the slot, I don't know if anybody can do that. He was having such an incredible year. I really do feel so bad he got hurt. That really sucked. Who do you like out of that group, Coach? You also have Sterling Shepard there, right?
Yeah, Sterling Shepard. They're saying he may be the slot guy now, which so
he's a vet.
He is a vet. Like, I think it's a good time to have McMillan myself. I would pick up any of those three names if they're on the wire for you. Just
okay.
It's any of those guys could be somebody's getting targets. So,
I mean, I'm staring at my league too, where I actually have Godwin in this redraft league, and Bateman's out there. So I'd pick up Bateman. He's played really, really well so far, and deserves some credit for what he's done. Dontavian Wicks, are you interested in Wicks at all? I'm not personally.
No.
Yeah. You got QJ, Tutu Atwell, Xavier Legette, Ray McLeod, Troy Franklin, Ricky Pearsall. Any of those names?
Pearsall and McLeod are possibles. Like, McLeod's got more targets than Devontae Smith this season. Just saying. So, I mean, and Pearsall could, somebody's getting targets in San Fran here in the next couple of weeks. So Pearsall's a possibility there too.
Yeah. David adds to his previous question, Coach says, between Tank Dell, Ladd, and Coleman, long-term, pick two.
Still Dell and Ladd for me.
It's Dell and Ladd for me. I think part of Dell's problem is I think he might not trust his body yet. I think the injury is still lingering on him. I mean, let's not forget he had that serious leg injury, and then he also got shot in the offseason. Like, a lot happened to him in 1 year, so I think it just might take him a little bit of time to get adjusted.
Matt's a well-known Keon hater too, just for the record.
That's true. It is on the record. He's been in our sell videos before, and I will gladly tote that flag of take Keon. I don't want him. Love his attitude, though. He's a funny guy. I love his videos.
Yeah.
Joseph Park says, trade Garrett Wilson and Mooney for T. Higgins and Amari Cooper. Full PPR will look to make future package deals for the playoffs once I get some injured player back. Would you trade Garrett Wilson for T. Higgins, coach? I mean, Mooney and Cooper here, I think those are great additional plays, depth pieces for you. So I'm not going to fault you either way for those. Really, my head is breaking this down as Garrett Wilson or T. Higgins.
Yeah, I think you're right. Like, I personally am going in the trade, though. I don't think Mooney and Cooper are going to be even. Like, Cooper's going to be the one in Buffalo. Like, he's going to get some touchdown targets to me more so than Mooney. So I'm taking the Higgins and Cooper side because I lean Cooper over Mooney. I think Wilson and Higgins is a coin flip. So that's why I'm leaning. I'd take Higgins and Cooper.
Yeah, you kind of sold me there. I think I'm with you. Give me Cooper as being the one developing that relationship with Josh Allen. You know, Garrett Wilson, yeah, he gets a ton of targets, but he really hasn't done a whole lot with them. I mean, obviously he's scoring points and he's a high-end wide receiver, but I don't think he's the wide receiver that we keep touting him to be. So give me Higgins and Cooper in that trade as well. Jay asked us, Coach, would you trade Debo and Montgomery for Breece Hall?
No. Nope.
I think I'm with you.
Get from me there.
Yeah, I think what Coach is saying without saying is you're trading two players who are not only really good, but they're vital for their offense. And you're adding Breece, and Breece is good. This is no disrespect to Breece, but Montgomery is insane. The team loves him. He scored touchdowns on a whim. He just got re-signed. And Debo is Debo. He's the best wide receiver in San Fran, and he was prior to Ayuk's injury, and he was prior to Ayuk's signing.
Yep.
Did I sum it up for you? There you go.
Yep.
Jonathan asks us, Coach, should I try and trade Mason and Kelsey for Smith and Jonathan Taylor? If you can get that done, then yes, you absolutely should. If this is Smith or Jonathan Taylor, does that change anything for you, Coach? I don't think it does for me.
Yeah, it does for me a little bit, but I mean, if I can get that trade for both those guys, that's easy.
I mean, I might be blanking. I can't remember if he sent his team in the chat. There's too many comments, so I'd go look. But you know, if you have the tight end depth, then I certainly would be interested in moving them for either one of these guys. But just kind of depends. But if you can get them both, then by God, do it. Quit watching this video and go hit that smash accept on that trade. All right, Coach, we've got a few questions in here, so if you're still watching, be sure to throw in your question. We'll kind of hit our last ones here before we sign off, so we'll be a little bit quicker on some of these if questions start flying in, but we will certainly answer every single one we can. Who do I flex? Amon-Ra, A-Chain, Cup, AJ Brown, or Swift? Full PPR.
So you have that. Those are your options to flex. This guy has every player imaginable. Amon-Ra.
I think I'm with you, Amon-Ra, but it is certainly a question that is worth diving into. How are we having to pick a flex between Amon-Ra and AJ Brown? Like, who do you have starting over those two? Yeah, and Cup. I mean, yeah, I'm going with Amon-Ra here too. Certainly AJ Brown is interesting too, so I would be fine if you picked him because this is a tough choice in your two-man league, maybe. I don't know. Xenon says, his team is Allen, Mahomes, A-Chain, Kyron, Swift, JT, Jay Jettas, Tyreek, Amon-Ra, AJ, Cup, Kelsey, Kittle, and Ingram. My word, what a roster. He's 5-2, full PPR. What moves are we thinking about here, Coach? I assume this is a single quarterback league. If it's two quarterbacks, then that can change things because I would think about moving Mahomes if I could afford it, just because your team is loaded.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I would love to have this team. So I'm feeling pretty good about this. Maybe
I'm not sure
JT because of the injury concerns, maybe, but
I'm not sure there's any recommendations for a move. Like, who are you going to get? You have the best players. Like, what more could you want? Like, my word, this is insane. I've never seen something like this. Is this redraft? How did you get this team? This is unbelievable. This looks like a DFS lineup or like a parlay you're making or something. Yeah, I've got no moves for you, man. You trade me. All right,
I'll
let's
trade
hit
my
our
full
next
team
one.
for your full team.
Yeah, there we go. Let's just do a swap. Our next one is: should I trade Bijan Robinson and Garrett Wilson or Devontae Smith for Tyreek and James Conner or David Montgomery? Um,
Bijan and for Tyreek.
my answer is no. I'm not doing anything with this package, Coach.
Yeah, same for me. Bijan looked really good last week. Like I think he's going to get more usage here too. Like
Yeah,
Algier took a back seat finally this past week. And I think the Falcons are going to win the division. Like I really do. Like I think they now that the injuries in Tampa, like I'm liking the Falcons.
yeah, and I mean, we did a Bijan video. We've talked a lot about Bijan in our lives and during one of the Thursday night games, and I've been screaming, when can he get 20 plus carries? Because that's what I want to see. And this past week, he had 21 carries for 103 yards. Is that the best efficiency in the world? No, not necessarily. But give me that volume. He got the touchdown. You throw in the receiving work, and you can't ask for much better than that. So I'm keeping Bijan. I like that wide receiver room that you have Garrett and Devontae Smith. So I don't think that Tyreek does enough to bridge that gap because we still got to see it happen with Tua. Although we've been preaching that Tua is going to help this offense, he's better, and that Tyreek should be better. But I wouldn't jump out just so fast.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, let's hit Tron Force here. Tron Force, we appreciate you being here. You've been here every single week too. He said, I held on to Hopkins for a month. Just be rewarded this morning. My wide receiver room is now Tyreek, Cup, McLaurin, D-Hop, JSN, and Mooney. Heck yeah, man. That's awesome. You did get rewarded with that. That is a blessing for your team.
Yeah, Tron.
Obviously, you got a good wide receiver room. Coach, is there a name in here that you try and move, or are you comfortable with this unit going forward?
No, I mean I like this unit, especially now. You also got another gift with Tua playing this week, so Tyreek's going up too. Yeah,
So true.
get it, Tron.
So true. Well, let's hit our next question here. Coach says, "Do you think Christian Kirk is droppable in redraft? Don't know what to do with him." Oh gosh, what are we doing with Kirk, Coach? I don't think I'm dropping him. I can relate. The problem is the middle of the season so far, weeks 3, 4, and 5. He had double-digit points. But that's just me.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like I'm gonna hang on to him, see what happens over the next 2 weeks. We're getting close to droppable though soon. Just to be honest, like we're getting close to droppable. So nah, I'm gonna hang on to him for now.
Yeah. All right. Well, then let's speed through these last questions here, Coach, and then we will jump off here. Jeffrey Gross says both the Tampa Bay guys are available. Tillman is there. I also have McLaurin, Brian Thomas Jr., Pickens, Debo. I guess I don't need a wide receiver. I start those 4, but I just want depth for the playoffs. I have Lamar and Andrews stack. I mean, is Tillman someone you're going to add, Coach, given this unit he has?
I mean, if I can add him and drop somebody else, like I don't know who you would be dropping. So to me, adding someone is always worth it if you're dropping a guy you don't use anyway. So, but I'm not dropping any of the guys I see here for any of the Tampa Bay guys or Tillman. If that's what it's asking.
I think I'm with you too. I'm not going to drop any of those names, but if I can have someone that's on the back end of my roster, sure, I'll pick up Tillman.
Yeah.
Jesse says, I know I'm probably annoying you guys. You are never annoying us, Jesse. Thank you for being here.
Nope.
Hunter Henry or Sam Laporta? Sam Laporta for me.
Sam Laporta.
Yeah, it's not been great, but trust the talent. Like, you just have to. William says, I was offered either Pollard or Swift, and either Waddle or DJ Moore for my Debo and Tracy. First of all, Coach, are you interested in moving Debo and Tracy for any package of this core here between the 2 running backs and the 2 wide receivers?
Possibly Swift and Waddle. Possibly. I'd have to think long and hard about it, and I don't love it because I'm a big Debo believer. Debo's healthy. Debo produces. And Tracy is ascending. I do think Swift's overall usage is going to be higher than Tracy's. DJ Moore's interesting because I don't know. He hasn't been getting the looks in the end zone here recently. So that's why I'm leaning towards Waddle a little bit. But DJ Moore is the better of the two receivers.
Does it change your answer at all knowing that he has Brees, Javonte, Nico, McLaurin, Deontay Downs, and J-Mo?
That is, I like his team.
Yeah,
especially when Nico comes back.
That's what I was just about to say. If Nico comes back, then I think for me, I would do Swift and Waddle. I would bet on Tua, and I'd be willing to take that chance and go for the chip, having Brees, Swift, Javonte, Nico, McLaurin, Waddle, Deontay Downs, and J-Mo. Now, personally, I would probably be shopping Downs. I know a lot of people really like Josh Downs. I think he's a good player, but I'm just not the biggest fan of that offense. But he does hit that like button. So please hit that like button. It greatly helps us out as we're closing out the show here. Thank you, William. We appreciate you coming in here, stopping by, and asking your question as always. Trump Force adds, Coach, who would you play at the flex, PPR, McLaurin, D-Hop, Jason, Mooney, Mostert, or Madison?
McLaurin.
I agree. McLaurin for me. He's going to have a day against those Bears, so I'm told.
Whoa, wait a minute.
Oh,
Jalen Johnson may follow him around. Jalen Johnson's the best corner in the league. That could hurt McLaurin a little bit.
He's overrated.
If Jaden Daniels doesn't play, that would hurt McLaurin as well.
Completely
so I'm going to
agree.
pivot just a little bit. I'm going to pivot to Mooney.
Ooh. Yeah, if Jaden
really
Daniels,
monitor that quarterback situation.
Mm-hmm. 4:30 Eastern kickoff, so you'll have a little bit of time. For me, if I can pivot from McLaurin, barring some injury to Jaden Daniels, I'm probably going with Mooney as well, or JSN, one or the other. If DK doesn't play, then I'd probably go JSN. If DK plays, then I'd go Mooney. All right, let's hit Demarius' question here. He says, I have Brees Hall, Monty, B-Rob Jr., and Pollard. And he asked, should he trade one? So trade Brees, Monty, or B-Rob, or Pollard. I'd probably move Pollard just to see if I could get like a wide receiver piece or something like that I might need, but I'm keeping the other three.
Yep, totally agree.
Yeah. Our last comment here is from Chef. He says, Parker Washington going to take that Christian Kirk role. Very possible. He might. I have Parker Washington all over my dynasty leagues on taxi squads, so wouldn't be the worst thing for me.
Yeah, I see it. It could totally happen.
Yeah. Well, before we sign off here, Coach, we got one more question. I'm sorry. We'll hit this one, then we'll jump off here. It says, I have Singletary, Javonte, Hunt at running back with Bijan Hawkinson coming back from my IR. My droppable guys are the backup on the Chargers and Blake Corum. I'm 8-4 in a median win league, 12 PPR. Yeah, I mean, you certainly need Bijan. Hawkinson's going to help you. Is there anything that you would be thinking about with this team, Coach? Oh, this is to the Tillman question. I'm sorry. That's what it's paired with.
Oh,
so yeah,
okay,
I was a little confused. Doesn't really change much of my analysis there. I would stick with what we set up there. Coach, any change for you?
No, I'm with you.
Yeah.
Now, I do think you got Javonte here. It's an interesting time. You may want to look at selling Javonte. They're playing the Panthers this week. He could have a good week right here, and then look at selling him if he has another big week.
Yeah, I would be interested in that too, unless they have some sort of true commitment to him as being the back. I mean, he had 63% of the snaps. If it hit like 80, 90% and the other guys were healthy, then that's where I'd be like, okay, maybe we hold. But if he goes off against the Panthers on 50% of snaps with something like 2 touchdowns again, yeah, I'm shipping him off.
Yep, totally with you.
Yep. Jeff says, appreciate you guys talking instead of just talking about nothing. And he subscribed. Hey, we appreciate you, man. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube over at the
Thank you,
FF
man.
Mediators. We're proud to be affiliates with Face Off Sports Network. So we jump on here every Wednesday at 8:30. So appreciate you being in here and asking questions. But that's going to do it for us, Coach. Do you have any final thoughts before we head out of here?
No, man, we really appreciate you guys jumping in, asking questions. If you ever have a trade idea or something you would like us to help you with, just hit us up over on the FF Mediators, and we're willing to help with any kind of trade idea you guys might have.
Yeah, we're pretty responsive, so just let us know. We're happy to help you however we can in your fantasy leagues and try and win some championships. But like Coach said, follow us on X at the FF Mediator. Subscribe to our YouTube. Have to say, be sure to subscribe and give a follow to the Face Off Sports Network. We're proud to be affiliates with them, and we're here every Wednesday at 8:30 Eastern. We're also live on Thursday nights over on X at halftime during the games, where you can pop into our space, ask your questions, let us know your thoughts, and we're just talking football. So we'll be here. Be sure to check out our content we're putting out on YouTube with future videos. But until next time, we will see you then.